I swear to you, every single time I come here and I walk through the gate, I'm like, wow, it's completely different. Because I actually live away from the garden now, it's around a half-an-hour drive, it means that I have to make the effort to come to the garden, and that means I usually come here 2, maybe 3 times a week. So there's always a 2 or 3 day window between each visit. And I'm excited because I'm growing so many different things. There's always new things to get excited about. So yes, the sweet pea season is over, but I'm growing Rebecca for the first time ever. And it's just this amazing display of colour in one of the corners of the garden. It's almost that sense of what's happened when I've gone away, and you're almost anxious to find out in a really positive way, because it's also thinking, what's coming into season, what crop is coming into season that I haven't had yet or haven't eaten yet, and I'm kind of eyeing up those leeks. And I think maybe another few weeks and I might start harvesting those, and the Swede are just coming through. And again, it's that connection with the seasons. The single biggest thing that you can do if you want to move into self-sufficiency is not worry so much about the preserving and the canning and the storage, but to actually embrace all of the differences that each season provides, and to eat with the seasons rather than trying to extend and morph summer into spring, autumn and winter. I love winter veg because it is hearty and it goes well with so many things. It's very much soup, stew season. As long as you have a creative approach to cooking, honestly, the world is your oyster when it comes to what you can get from the garden, and self-sufficiency isn't actually as hard to attain as some people might say or admit. The thing that probably brings me the most joy in a garden is trying out new crops. This year I grew spaghetti squash, inspired by Liz Zorab, and it was incredible, and I'm going to use that to actually eat in the Hungry Gap because it stores so well. I suddenly realised that, wow, this is going to be one of my Hungry Gap staples. There's a bit of like a aha moment. This thing here, this amazing thing, is called Aztec broccoli. It's a very ancient crop variety, obviously from the Aztec era, and it tastes okay, but it looks epic. It tastes almost like a sorrely spinach kind of thing. It's quite pleasant. You can eat the flower heads. I've let these run to seed, and I'd never grown this before. I had just seen it online and I thought, give it a go, and it absolutely loves this climate. Now, yes, I may not really want to grow much of it to eat because I got plenty of other greens that I think are more edible. I did find out that this, honeybees, when the weather's nicer, is swarming in honeybees. I've never seen that before. It was such a surprise. So I'm always going to grow a little bit of Aztec broccoli every single year, just because, firstly, I mean, this you could get away with this in an ornamental garden, but also for the pollinators, because they're just one of the best things. Having bees and butterflies, hoverflies, moths, all around me in the garden, I never feel alone, even if I'm alone in the garden. Yeah, and I think it's really special. So, moral of the story is, don't be afraid to try new crops, and even if they don't taste good, they could always serve a really important purpose or use for your garden. I think the first thing that you notice when you become a gardener is how much change happens throughout the seasons. You feel the different energies, you feel that kind of spring, summer warmth, amazing growth. You go away for 3 days, you come back and the garden looks totally different. And then you come into autumn and things are starting to die back a bit, and it's just slowly progressing into winter. And then winter, it's kind of this stillness in the garden, and I try and garden to that. So when it's a stillness, I'm also relaxing as a gardener. Obviously there isn't much to do, but I try and make sure that the garden is as prepped as possible before winter, so I can relax during winter to then have a very different change of energy, an energy of brainstorming, of finding ideas, of reflecting on the previous growing season, of planning ahead, just being in a comfy chair, drinking a cup of tea, hot chocolate, pint of beer, whatever, just dreaming about the upcoming season, because as soon as March hits, here we're in kind of, it really kind of depends on the actual, on the winter, but we tend to be zone 8 here. Sometimes it's kind of zone 7B. But when March hits, suddenly there's a million things that you need to do, and you don't have that time to brainstorm and plan, and then suddenly you're thinking, oh no, I didn't sort out the hose problem, or oh no, I didn't get the right seeds. I wanted to grow this particular variety of tomatoes, but it's June now and it's too late to start these new seeds. So you always see that shift and transition. Whenever I walk into the garden, it ultimately, being completely honest, it depends on the day. Sometimes I come to the garden just to work. I know that I have to get a video out, and that's a very different feeling to a day of coming to the garden and knowing that I'm gonna have a nice day, lovely weather, might have a barbecue as well, and just enjoy gardening. There's two very different kind of emotions that happen with me in the garden. Either it's work focused, got to get this and this done, or it's had a busy week, let's escape from everything and let's just relish the opportunity, and knowing how privileged I am to come to a space where I can just be outside and be creative, because gardening is a very creative thing. I don't think a lot of people would associate it with creativity and art, but when you start with a space, it's a blank canvas, and you can put your footprint on it, you can put your impression, and so it suddenly becomes very personal. And because you have that personal connection to the space, rather than just being somewhere to visit, it's somewhere for you. It's another home in a way. It might not be a home to stay in overnight, but it's a home for your heart and for your soul.